Let's party to the rhythm of peanut butter and jam.
Why you went for an agency route more than having it in-house? Like the way I look at it is, agencies usually tend to charge a lot more also, but they'll take care of all the creative sides. You won't, but then the amount of input that you'd have is also, it would be high, but the way it would correlate to that video wouldn't be as high enough because you are not exactly doing it. What do
Yeah.
you think? Should you go with an agency?
So I have in my past before Web3, I was primarily doing growth, brand, and marketing roles. I spent about 3 years leading digital for Walmart Tech in India. So I do understand this argument of having an agency versus having everything in-house. Where an agency helps is it enhances your capability while your run rate is relatively low. If you want to do something in 3D, if you want to do something IRL, agency will be able to do that at a fixed cost each month. But if you want to increase headcount, your run rate monthly continues to increase. Uh, and the other aspect is you have like far more control on what goes on. There is this challenge on how the input goes, how it translates into the actual product. But I think that to some extent that also happens if you have your own team. If you're a one man show, it's a different story. So I used to during my um, in 2017, 2016, I used to like do some videos of my own. um uh, feel very cringe right now thinking about it, but at that time, like, you have full control. Whatever is in your head, you're able to translate. I see a bunch of your videos as well, which are more IRL. So I'm sure you're able to translate those. And you have someone recording it, if not yourself. So that's sort of a debate. Also, we just opened up a new marketing manager role as well that will be focused on India. So the thought process is that this person comes in with a lot of content marketing and brand experience, which is translated properly to an agency that also has deep understanding of Web3 and what kind of nuances the audience appreciates. So that's the kind of model that we are trying to work while keeping the run rate low. I want to do 3D things. I want to do things which are IRL, but having all of that together, that's one of the challenges. And it has been successful in the past, in my experiences over. I used to also run my own agency, long time ago. I ran
Tell
it
us
for
more
about
about
2 years. This was a fun experience. So started my career as an engineer, and went to Infosys out of college, got that placement, and I was sort of cheated by my college to some extent because uh, once I got, so Infosys, Wipro, these mass hiring companies come first. At least they did in my college, and then you have these, specialist roles that hire for less than 5 or 10 people. Um, so Infosys was the first one. I sat in the interview, I got the role, and when I was excited to sit in, subsequent interviews, I was told that, hey, you can only get one placement. So that was a bit of a shocker. And at that time, I knew nothing beyond Java. So I thought, hey, this is a good route. And 2014, Infosys was, big. People had a lot of expectations. And, in my family, uh, I think I still am the only engineer in the extended family. So because of that, when I got in Infosys, I had a lot of pressure and expectations that how can you leave this job and try to do find something else. You should join this. So I ended up joining. The first few months of training was amazing in Mysore. They treat you like a prince with your own room, and every day you have, like, you leave the room messy in the morning at 9 a.m. and you come back at 4. It's shiny. So they spoil you a lot. But when I went to my actual, project, so I was placed in Mangalore. I spent about a year there. Day one, I knew this is not the place for me. Everybody was, sad and frustrated about, life is not taking them anywhere. And I was this young, energetic college kid, falling into that environment. So in a lot of experiments, video sort of stuck to me, and uh, I used to moonlight, create a bunch of videos, sell it to different brands while working in Infosys. And after about 5-6 months in that journey, I exited and started my own agency, primarily around video content, graphics, and all of that, and did that for a couple of years. Then sold it to a digital marketing company, and that was like a decent exit, because I also felt that it's you can scale that business, but it runs primarily on margins. So if you want to grow your revenue more, you need to hire more people, you need to get more clients. So I wanted to exit that and explore the larger realm of marketing beyond doing content and social video, things like that. And that's when I joined Walmart.
Crazy, sir. But one thing is backtracking a little bit on your agency journey. It's not easy to close a client. Like, how did you close your first client? Like, how did you tell them, hey, this is a video that you guys need, and yes, you should pay for it as well.
So this was pure luck. So me and a friend of mine, we were both bored in Infosys. So at that time in the US, Saturday Night Live used to have a segment where they used to go on the road and ask people questions. And we thought, hey, nobody's doing this in India. This is 2014. Like, YouTube is very new. And both of us decided to go to Bangalore, shoot a video. Um, the first video was around Gandhi Jayanti, and we had this recipe to keep a very angry uncle, a good-looking girl on the thumbnail, and a lot of views where youth did not know much about Gandhi. So we had that liberty to edit out things, and that went viral. We had like about 20 subscribers, our friends, and that video was picked up by these platforms like Scoop Whoop. At that time, these were publication platforms, BuzzFeed, and the video had about 30,000 views in 4 hours, and we are shocked. So that sort of motivated us to try it again. So the second one didn't work. The third one worked again, and the first client was organic. They reached out to us and they told us that don't do this for your channel, do it for our channel, and we'll pay you, we'll pay you money. And that money was essentially what I was making in Infosys for 1 month. So that was, amazing, and we started to continue to do that. That proof of work helped us get even more clients. And one thing I strongly feel in agency world, and I think it translates a lot to other aspects as well, is you have someone who is on the brand side. They want to execute some idea. All they care about primarily is if you have the capability to do it. Have you done this before? And if you are able to, and then can you do it in the budget that they have or in the ballpark? If you are able to convince someone in these three things, then it's supernatural. And once you are able to wedge in, it's then about building that relationship. So one of the clients, Cisco, we had a large retailer client with them. Um, their first video again was a lot of luck. So Cisco's senior director of employee and learning, so HR, part of HR department. She used to be our neighbor, and they were doing a bunch of uh, videos internally, and so they had some event planned for the next week, and on Friday of the week before, the team that was supposed to shoot that 3-day event, create a nice video around it, bailed on them for whatever reason. And she had nobody to go to. And she knew that, hey, these guys, and we had our home office of sorts. So we had about, four editors that used to come. And at that time, first time in life, you see like, big money. So we used to live in like a 5 BHK house. And she came to us and was like, hey, on Monday we have this event. Can you shoot it? Great. So once we did that, we were able to, go to a lot of other departments within Cisco just because we were able to build that relationship well. So it all depends on like, do you have the capability? Have you done this before? How good you are able to communicate, your ideas and, general communication. I think then it works.
Crazy, sir.
And proof of work helps also. Like we've seen that a lot more in Web3 than in Web2. Like if you have something, people see that, appreciate it, and want you to do.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks a lot more than a piece of paper that you're sending to somebody for a job application. It's more of like saying, hey, I've done this, this is what I'm going to do for you. But, sir, I have one doubt. Like, you went from an agency route, which is very, you could say it's very chaotic, maybe, with the highs and the lows. How does your mindset translate to that to like Walmart, which is like again like a corporate firm, but still is it as chaotic as an agency or is it a little stagnant?
So when you're like, it's for me, it was about how much can I learn, and is this something that I want to do for life? So those were my questions. So Infosys was about 1 year, and I'm in this new job. So I'm effectively 23, 24 years old, and I'm making a lot of money each month. Um, and continuously doing that, getting a bunch of clients. But after I believe the first year, I started to realize that, hey, is this, luckily we did not have a lot of lows at that time, touch wood. But what I started to realize was, hey, this is a lot repetitive. You have clients, they have this, it can be, and then the only way to scale it is you employ more people. Um and for me it was about, hey, I'm young, I want to learn more. This is not something that I would like to do maybe 5 years from now. So that is where I took a hard decision. And luckily the so while we were figuring this out, the digital marketing company invested about 50 lakhs, because they also saw this video. And at that time, it was also market timing. A lot of marketing agencies used to do SEO, used to do things like that, and not much on content side. And as YouTube and video, smartphones, Geo started to, go up, brands were expecting a lot more video content. So that was the, gap where, we were able to fit. We were able to get some, initial investment to scale the team, buy a bunch of equipment. But over the period of time, it was only about, hey, I'm not learning enough. And this is not something that I would want to do 5 years from now. It could be part of it. I really enjoy, content and marketing. Um, so that is when I thought that, getting, maybe I need, more experience and to learn more. So I started to, so I've always been like, when I apply for roles, I don't apply for like hundreds. At that time, my mindset, I was also a bit more, living the hippie lifestyle, I would say. I had like long hair, very lean. So, I thought one approach could be that I could do good for, the society. So I had applied for a couple of roles that were, non-profit, but, on the marketing side, so I could learn more. Because I had no formal marketing education. I'm an engineer learning Java, just experimented. Um, it luckily went well. And then the other opportunity was Walmart. So, those two NGO roles I wasn't able to get. I was in, the final rounds. And there's something that I remember very, deeply, and during that time. So there was this startup called NVU, ENVIU. It's a non-profit in Netherlands. So they were hiring a marketing person for India. They had a few, circular economy companies in India, and they wanted somebody to help. So the guy told me that, you have the recipe, but you have not, made food a lot. You've only done like parts of things. So we have enjoyed, this is like the final round. You're among like, two more people, but we want somebody who can cook for us. So that always stuck to me on how to generally hire people if you're looking at something that is more at a senior level. And Walmart was again, lucky I was able to get that. And except for like, after Aptos, Walmart would be the most fulfilling journey that I've had there. It was an amazing experience. Got to do a lot, m- got to learn a lot there as well. Did very large campaigns, uh, rebranded during that time. It was amazing.
Oh, what was the big thing that you guys worked on Walmart? Like, what was one thing that stood with you even now?
So Walmart is like Walmart Tech. So I was part of Walmart Tech and not retail. Retail at that time was being absorbed in Flipkart. They had just made that acquisition the moment I joined, I think in like a couple of months. So Walmart was a tech company. They were on par with salaries, sometimes more than all the other competitors. Like, you look at Swiggy, Zomato, and a lot of other startups. But a lot of strong product folks did not want to join Walmart. They would take the offer, they would go somewhere else. So one thing I learned there was, and at that time, like I was coming from a technology background, and I was pushing my, manager, who was, the director for Marcom in India. She was essentially India marketing um, uh, CMO of sorts. So um, the leadership had this view that, hey, if we propagate tech, people will come. And I'm like, dude, I'm a software engineer. At least I was a couple of years ago. I don't care about tech. I need a lot more. And, trying to convince that, it took me about 6 months.
Oh,
But that led to an amazing exercise where we did a large brand exercise, which had, internal, so leadership. And then we had associates who are internal folks. And then we had college students from, tier one colleges that Walmart would go to. We had product and services folks from other companies. So this was about 2,000 people and a very, detailed brand research. And the outcome was amazing. So what leadership thought, what the associates thought, and what the external audience thought was completely different. And through that, we were able to actually pinpoint that tech actually tech was third in that race. So there were like a lot of questions and a lot of analysis there. It has a lot to do with, feeling of belonging. If you feel that, you will come. So this led to a massive rebrand internally. Walmart Labs changed to Walmart Global Tech. And then the approach with which we used to do comms drastically changed. So we had this large campaign called This Is That Place, and everything sort of centered around that. This is that place where you feel belonging. This is that place where anybody is welcome. And one good thing about, large companies like Walmart is once they have, these things aligned, they go really deep into executing it. So what I mean by this is that place where everybody belongs, they hired people who were blind, they hired people who were, trans, they hired people who had disabilities, physical disabilities. They had revamped the entire office so that you can have ramps everywhere, and a lot of sensitization sessions. Once we started to do this, so I used to closely work because I was primarily working on brand and digital. I used to work with their HR team as well. So these things translated into how our hiring comms would go, how we would interview there, and this reduced attrition, the number of people who would leave, and this also increased, acceptance of offer. And from there on, uh, in 2 years' time, we were able to scale from about 1,200 total employees to 7,000. And Walmart India was able to take up a lot more, work from Walmart Global. It essentially works like, its own entity. It has its own P&L. So the more work that comes, it's better. These guys can make more money. So that was something that has stuck to me. And even now, like how I translate this to, let's say, a blockchain world is what is your, like, in all chains talk about, hey, we have this, we have that, we have this tech first. But this is something that I'm trying to, push hard, and you'll see a lot more this year after a bunch of experiments is how what is the founder value proposition if you build on Aptos? What is the developer value proposition if you're building on Aptos? And this will not just include that, hey, this is the best tech that you have, which Aptos is and continues to improve. But there are a lot more nuances. How can we be more public in translating this thought?
There's a lot to think about there. I mean, the way I was thinking about it is how can I do this for Reclaim Protocol now? Like I like the idea of having like hey founders who see Aptos or Reclaim, like how can they relate to it? Is that what you were kind of talking about? Developers, I come here, not staying for the tech, staying more for the value. I think companies like Nike
Yeah.
have done a very good past this. I think it's more of like a narrative which you kind of sell. Just do it.
Yeah.
Trump did something amazing with Make America Great Again.
It's a bit more than narrative. Like it has to translate into policies, structure, initiatives. It just cannot be that. Like Nike does that very well. Again, they say just do it, and they have all kinds of people doing things. So it translates that it is not just athletes. It could be everybody. So how it could the same way, like for example, a Reclaim. You've been doing an amazing job. Like your Women's Day campaign was something very interesting. It translates that, like, even they are part of your ecosystem. Although women in Web3 are low, and that's something we need to improve on. But yeah, it has to translate into a lot more. It just cannot be something public facing.
Hmm. Makes a lot of sense. But okay, so all of this, how does it? How did it come to Aptos in the end? Like, how did it come to like a very predominantly Web two background to like a blockchain? How did you get introduced to Aptos in the first place? I mean, that's the big shocker.
Yeah. So I was in Web3 in 2017. Like in my agency days, I did a few videos for Uno Coin, an old exchange in India. We did a bunch of regional content, app walkthroughs, and when they came on as a client, Bitcoin that time I heard for the first time. So this was, I think, March 2017, and I started to research about Bitcoin and really liked the philosophy of it. Had some money at that time, so invested a bit. And in 2017 is when I also, decided, like Q3, Q4, I was deciding to exit. So at that time, I was actually going to build something which is, in Web3, because I really liked, the philosophy of it. I was not very sure on how it would perform financially, because I did not have that experience in the past. So what I was trying to build is I have a bunch of media experience, content experience. So I was going to build a platform similar to, let's say, a Cointelegraph, Coindesk, because I thought that there is a lack of, awareness, education, and had the designs, wireframes almost ready, and then Bitcoin crashed, Ethereum crashed. So once that happened, I was putting money from my own pocket, and at that time a couple of, like, folks who are now doing good in Web3, I was able to meet them. They were supportive that you should do it. But when Ethereum crashed, I was like, dude, I'm putting money from my own. Why should I, like, do this? And completely got absorbed with all the amazing things that happened in Walmart in 2020, pandemic. One of my friends got stuck with us in Bangalore, and he was like, "Hey, help me buy Bitcoin." His friend is telling him to buy Bitcoin, and so I showed him Binance. I helped him buy some, and I also got curious. Let's see what's happening. So I had this 2 year, gap where I was not looking at coin market cap, etc. So I looked at that, and I started to see a lot more conversation, and there were products that were built on blockchain. 2017, it was just vaporware. Nothing was built. It was all about, hey, in the future we will see this, and now you have products and utility. So that led me to like go the next. I spent about 3-4 days. Went back to my Walmart manager and told her that I want to quit, and she is shocked out of her life because we were spending 3 years. I was essentially her right hand man, not because I was leaving, but because I did not have any other opportunity. And she's like, the world doesn't know what's happening. We are in this pandemic, and you want to quit a very Walmart, like, great job. You go at 9 o'clock, you leave at 4. You do whatever you want after that. Uh, so but I've always been a risk taker from that sense. Like, if I feel that, hey, this is something that I want to do, um, I will take that risk. So I spent about 4.5 months in my notice period, because I told her that I will fulfill your goals that you had for this year, but I'm leaving. I'll file my resignation. It's okay how many hour months it requires me to fulfill it, but I will leave. So it took me about 4.5 months, and I left. During this time, I started to explore more, uh, consult a couple of startups. And in 2020, you have this, large wave of new startups from India. And I was coming from this rich marketing background who understands Web3. So I joined a early stage startup called Claystack as head of marketing. We raised about 5 million. It was a good time, but I realized a few more gaps. Ended up setting up a micro VC to be more supportive to founders and act on a operator model rather than a VC model. It did well, and then we were going to raise a larger round. Then you had this FTX, Luna, everything happened all together. So that did not translate, although we had signed subscriptions from people, and we spent a lot of money setting up the fund in Cayman, etc. But yeah, life takes such turns, and I started an accelerator with the same folks. We did one cohort, and in the middle of that cohort, I realized that this is not the model where I can impact a lot more in founders' lives, and in India. It might take me again 5-6 years. It's a good job. You get paid to execute things, and you get a lot of equity, but everything depends on third party. You don't have much control. And during the accelerator, I was following Aptos for a while, and during the accelerator, we had worked on a couple of events for Aptos, founder events on Aptos, and when um, I started to think about exiting the accelerator, I reached out to, again. I applied for about 5 teams that had similar role open. I had about 3 offers, and out of that, Aptos seemed like a better fit for me. They were a lot more open on what India can offer rather than having a very stringent view on, hey, we need to do this. I always like that. Each country has its nuances, and you cannot have a cookie cutter approach to India as well. So yeah, that's where I joined, and it's been amazing the last, I would say, 1.5 years.
Crazy man. What's cooking? What's cooking next quarter for Aptos? Because I've been seeing you guys make a lot of
So
noise. And with respect to last year, also, I've been seeing a lot of developer content also come out, a lot of marketing stuff. And last year was, I think, particularly amazing for you guys, just in terms of the Goa hackathon that you guys did, the hackathon video that came out. I think that one video, I think, just literally just pushed you guys on top for like a very long time, just in terms of people relating to it. So Yeah, man, I am very excited to see more, but I think you will have the best context on what's more this year. So fill us in.
Yeah. So last year for us was a lot of experimentations on top of funnel. Like how can we attract developers? And we had a very strong pipeline where we, invested and gave, grants to strong founders who can build amazing use cases. So my focus was a lot more on, sort of understanding what works at top of funnel while continue to drive good teams. So when I joined, we had about 3 teams from India that were building, and by the end of last year, we had about 40 teams. Out of that, 30 teams were really established. Some of these were multi-chain, like Reclaim, for example, that integrated us. So my approach was a lot of local products and infrastructure teams have that um, you know reach with respect to top of funnel, and it also helps if Aptos is integrated there because the developer locally want them. So Reclaim, Push Protocol, Huddle, Octo, so these were examples from this end. And then very strong native teams that can build amazing new use cases. So I'm all for consumer use cases. I feel DeFi and everything else is good, but today there is no new idea. It's essentially the same thing on a different chain. While it's required because these are primitives, um, consumer is where I feel you will be able to truly showcase the power of blockchain because you're solving a real problem. So we had a very strong pipeline. Couple of good investments that I can think of is Kgen was
Hmm.
amazing. Kgen, it's proof of gamer protocol lies on Aptos. So think of it in this way: you have multiple games on different chains. These are Web2 games that Kgen goes to. And these guys want to increase loyalty, increase spend on their game. And Kgens enables them to be Web3. So yeah, multiple games. And what they're trying to build long term is an ad network where you can have parameters of user and gaming without abstracting a lot of user information in the hands of advertisers, and have better targeting as well. Google and all of these do not give you that deeper targeting. For example, I want to only target to folks who like shooter games. You would potentially able to do that with Cajun in the next 6 to 8 months, I would say. So while you have these different games, they wanted some place where all of this data resides so that this Oracle network can actually help for running better ads. And they experimented with a bunch of protocols to make it happen. Either they were you know, uh, they would get issues on business model. What I mean by that is, let's say each time there is a transaction, you push that data, uh, fees increases. On the other hand, if you push it, let's say at the end of the day, that's a bad UX for the end customer. So imagine it in this way that you are you like let's say 4 games from one single studio, and you continue to play those games. You played a game, game A, you ended that game, now you play want to play a game B. You essentially want, as a gamer, all of this data to be here. If let's say you earn 20 points, you want these 20 points to be reflected the moment you close this and
Yep.
open it. So that is where we worked very deeply in designing that protocol and helping them a lot more with technology there. So KGen Stan is another amazing example. So YouTube, particularly gaming streamers, want to be closer to their audience. The gamers also want to be closer with their streamers. The only option today is either third party applications like Patreon, etc., or you have to join their YouTube live, YouTube subscribe, where you can pay them, let's say, a monthly 100 rupees or something. But that has very limited benefits. It's mostly one to many. So you have access to a Discord or access to some exclusive content. What Stan essentially does is you do the same thing, but as an end customer, you are essentially joining a club, and that is essentially a token gated room. So now all your club, members can be inside, and it has a lot of features similar to Discord, but a few additional ones are you can launch games natively. So if you want to play, let's say, a PUBG, these people can join and play a game within the app, rather than if you're on Discord and you have this new, room link, and then you go to your PUBG app, you enter that link. So this has been doing very, very well. They recently, I think in November or early December, Nazara bought about 16% stake in that company in a cash deal. So that's an amazing product again. And then we have a few more that we did last year. So this year, the focus is a lot more on, while we continue to onboard these amazing use cases. I think we did about 3 teams in the first quarter. Um, what I also want to do is want to help in channeling the founders a lot better. We have experimented with top of funnel, so we understand what works. So there we have, about 20 boot camps and 5 hackathons. So going from one region to another, we did 3 boot camps in Jaipur. So next month, early next month, you'll see us doing a few boot camps in, Kolkata and close by regions, and there'll be a hackathon in Kolkata, and then we'll go to a different region, and then we'll go to a different region. So this will act as a top of funnel, along with participate in student hacks, industry hacks. Um, Move as a curriculum is also being integrated in a few universities. Um, but beyond that, like we launched, it's still in beta. We launched something as Move Club, so that essentially acts as an engagement layer where this talent comes in, is able to earn money and also build their reputation, show their interest, and from there we identify that, hey, this person is a developer and is only looking at full-time or part-time jobs. He's not a founder, and again, that has to come from the person itself. We have a program that we are going to implement in, I would say, early June, that helps in placing these people within the Aptos ecosystem. And then if you are more of a community guy, there is a different program. And if you're a founder, you want to build something. We have programs where you have different stages where you know the path. So get a small micro grant, build something, and then we are sort of thinking of revamping the name Winter School. I don't know how people are going to feel about it, but call it an MVP program. So in micro grant, you build a POC. If you have strong intent to continue to build, you go into MVP stage, you spend about 10 days with our DevRel ecosystem members. And then if you continue to have that, and then we'll have like a few build stations and builder residencies, then you go down the funnel. We are going to introduce an accelerator program local to India. That's going to be an interesting one. So you have this path where, as a founder, you know that if I build from an MVP, I can be here. If I continue to build it till POC, I can be here. If I continue to build till mainnet, this is where I can, land. And then post that, how do we cross pollinate them into global programs that we have? How can we help them move to Dubai if they want to do that? So this year focuses a lot more on this pipelining. And again, you run these experiments to see if these work and improve. We're also expanding our team to make sure that we are able to do this. Last year, mostly I was alone. We hired about 2 people in Q4. This year, we have 2 new roles open, a couple of more roles open in next month, so that this funnel is able to work. And as a founder, I have this path to success where in different stages, I'm able to get capital access. I'm able to improve access to more people. So yeah, I'm super excited about how this will translate. Of course, there'll need to be a lot more operational excellence in achieving this, and we want to be a lot more vocal as well. So we'll have some external support and internal support as well, to make sure that we are making some noise and reaching the right talent.
Absolutely, so. Just a personal doubt that I had. Usually, I've seen these boot camps not give a lot of ROI, but one way of getting ROI is not focusing on the quantity, more on the quality of people that are coming here. So, what do you necessarily do to scavenge the right kind of people to come here? Because that itself is one of the most difficult tasks. Like marketing the bootcamp is easy, putting a video out there is easy. You can do everything, but to get at least one good team that will translate into $1 million company is the hard part. How do you make sure, like when you go to cities like Jaipur, Kolkata?
So, like early stages, what I feel is that it has to do a lot with, the founder or the founding team, their grit, how much enthusiasm they have, because idea is not really the thing. So one aspect is what we are trying to do here is filter out this audience and understand these nuances. That hey, is the developer only looking at full-time, part-time roles? So we push them to a different track. This is the founder want to build, want to continue to go further in that journey and has the traits that are required at an early stage. We were able to identify these traits earlier where we really lacked. And then you can see some of these examples from our Winter School 1 and 2 as well, that have propagated to, some of them propagated to other chains. Some of them are still building on Aptos. So like NetSapio is one example. They were in Winter School 1. They had, a very random idea at that time, but are now building something very interesting on the deep inside. If you look at a couple of folks from Send AI on
Hmm.
Solana, Semi and Blurry Face, they were in our winter school too. They were strong, founder material. Where we lacked was giving them this access to a path, and now they're building something amazingly well. So we were always good in identifying these people, but what lacked was because of local resources that we have, number of people in the team, and the nature of experimentation that we wanted to do last year and prove this thesis that India can, produce top talent, not just from, young talent that comes out to build, but also strong teams that are building, strong established teams. And at the end of the year, even the leadership had, very strong views on doubling down in India. Avery was here. He spoke to a lot of media during that time. We had about 70% of global monthly active users were from India-led teams, which would translate to like Aptos being the largest consumer chain in India, where users are actually transacting, and in the most abstracted way, these users don't even know that they are on blockchain. So this year, like as we had good eye on talent, we want to further enable them through this path.
Crazy, sir. I think personally, this podcast is me learning a bunch of stuff at this point. But crazy, sir. I also feel like what you said before is also pretty correct because you've already done a lot of work with like multi-chain like protocols as well, like Reclaim. But I still feel like that's not like it's not a bad thing also because what I've noticed is they already have a huge developer audience, and if you can cook something up with them, this is me particularly pushing a narrative also here. Is if we can push something that's very much Aptos ZKTLS, which is a very big thing right now, I feel like it would be immense mindshare, and a lot of our apps also are consumer apps for very good context, and we also focus a lot on abstraction. So we should definitely do something, man. Like I would love to actually do something that is actually that gives a lot of developers a lot of value into what they're building coming into this as well. Do you have another call at one?
No, 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 no. I'm just trying to see a dog. Just give me one moment. It might not be relevant to this conversation here, but I'm trying to see. Uh, yeah. Okay. So we should, in fact, like I'll be open to ideas here. We should do something, experiment with, consumer apps, and that was the rationale as well. That you and similar teams have these. and we can leverage, um, because we are essentially targeting, at least in this local aspect, targeting the same audience, although both platforms are global. And something that I really like about Reclaim, of course, amazing team, but over the last few months, the way that especially you have been able to drive the community, and do a lot of fun initiatives. So I'm excited. So all ears on what we could do
Absolutely,
together.
sir. I also feel like I've not been touching the surface. Every day I wake up feeling not content. Yeah, in fact, tomorrow I was thinking of revamping the entire thing. I was like, hey, this is bare minimum. Like, I don't understand what is so hype about this. I want to scale it up now. I want to increase the production quality of things that we do. Have you seen the videos that we have done before? Like the actual ad shots that we have done before? Guess the budget. Like we've
Yeah,
not gone above 2,500 rupees for most of the ads, which is,
that's amazing, man. That's
yeah.
amazing.
And a lot of our bills when we go reimburse it is food. So throughout the day, I think the best part of it is the fact that we get to sit together at a restaurant and have what we want. I think Harsha, the most
Yeah.
funny thing is Harsha looks at our video editing day and it's like camera, it's like 1,500, food 3,000 is like, what did you guys do? Film food. Well, it's crazy, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Naresh, coming back to ZKTLS, when did you first hear about it?
Uh, I don't actually recall like first time I heard about it, but the product that I was most excited about was Reclaim. So when you guys initially, launched, and being able to prove something in Web 2, bring that data to Web 3 without actually exposing that data, that was, amazing. And there are so many use cases that
Yep.
will require this. And, that's when I thought that, hey, Reclaim has to be on
Sir.
Aptos, because we can unlock so many use cases through this
Crazy,
technology.
sir. Also, fun fact is, I also feel like the ZK part is quite irrelevant now in terms of ZKTLS, even though it's called ZKTLS. I feel like just the data extraction part is what's getting people most excited because you have all of this data that's been literally blocked on by like big companies, monopolies itself, like LinkedIn data you cannot get. Even for Stan, we were talking with Stan actually. Like I went to their office pretty much, I think last month. We spent about a good hour and a half there, and they told me that they were building on Aptos. So I was also like said, hey, we are also live on Aptos. So we did a lot of, and one of their primary concerns is the fact that they still cannot get data from a lot of these consumer applications that are already in Web 2. And for them, us being a technology was like inspiring. They did not care about the ZK part actually. They did not care about the verification. They were like, hey, can you extract data? And we were like, yes. And that was the most exciting part for them. I feel like a lot of consumer apps could develop from this. Naresh, what do you think if you were like 18 years old in a hackathon, in an Aptos hackathon, and you had Reclaim with you, you had to build a consumer app, which is something that you love, consumer apps. What do you think you would build, man?
Uh, so many things to build, but I think one use case that I would be more excited about, and I feel there's a big gap today, is under collateralized lending. Um, if you are that has its limit in Web3. You can get social scores, and that's about it. And to be honest, that doesn't really translate as you being credit worthy.
True.
And DeFi today is fully over collateralized. So if you are able to unlock this, especially in it opens up a completely new stream of applications. So how essentially I would be thinking of doing this is, can I get access to maybe bank statements where the app doesn't really know the final, all the details, but knows how much money I have, how much do I spend on a monthly basis. Can I get credit scores, a map of that, and basis that have faster loans, cheaper loans, and essentially under collateralized loans. It's a very big market, and I think right now, a lot of teams are trying to do this through full KYC. But the crypto audience is not really full KYC pro. Although I feel in the next few years everything will be full KYC. But I think this could be a great stopgap. You are and then doing potentially doing this in emerging markets. Like I think India, it's still a little bit difficult from a regulatory standpoint, but if you look at, let's say, a Thailand or a Vietnam or an Africa, things are much more clear from an on-off ramp standpoint. And if you are able to get this Web2 data, financial Web2 data, without exposing that financial Web2 data, and provide under collateralized lending, I think you can do an amazing
Absolutely.
job. What might be required here, although one big challenge here could be um, essentially liquidity. So how can maybe that could be solved through debt and things like that, where these large players who are anyway doing lending are able to do it through these platforms. That could be a challenge, but I think that would be an idea, which is a huge gap in DeFi, and completely transforms how we look at DeFi versus going completely
Crazy,
KYC.
sir. I don't know if I can say this on the podcast. Like, I definitely cannot. So, if all goes great, by probably Q4 this year, we'll see a very big announcement, very big alpha. You cannot tell anyone this is not coming on the podcast. Yes, sir. So, essentially,
Yeah, amazing. Would be good to have these on Aptos, because you don't have to when you're, let's say, doing paybacks, you don't have to pay a lot more fee. It's settled instantly. And just 2 days back, we also announced this reorder transaction. So a sell transaction always goes before a buy transaction, so that you have much tighter spreads. So would love to explore this, like, outside of this
crazy,
platform.
sir. I feel like there is a bunch of use cases in Web 2 also, but I'll tell you one thing that I notice in Web 2 is they're very slow. I don't know if that is a thing because I'm used to this Web3 sales cycle. Web3 sales cycle is pretty easy. It's like you ping the founder, get on a call. They'll 100% be happy to get on a call if you provide some sort of value itself. And then it's more about, hey, is this useful right now? And is this going to help them make noise? And they're usually very happy with that.
Yeah,
But Web2 not at all the case, sir. It is a nightmare. And personally, I'll tell you one more thing is
yeah,
there is no respect, which is something that I've noticed.
like that. But I think what I see is um, startups not so much. They're not really fully open to it yet. But large enterprises are open, and then even governments are definitely open to leverage blockchain
Do you
as a
feel that's
technology.
right? Do you feel
Although
like
some
Indian
of them,
government is actually open to a lot of it?
from a technology perspective, yes. But their version of blockchain also is just redundancies. You have four nodes in one room, so it sort of goes against the ethos. And we get asked a lot that, can you launch a help us launch a private chain, and we're like, no,
That does not work.
that won't happen. Yeah. Aptos, like, the vision the team has is, the chain is capable enough to handle transactions and users at scale. We have last month we had about 20K TPS, and then a few more technology changes that are coming in consensus and execution pipeline. So our block time right now is the shortest. It's about 130 milliseconds, and end-to-end consensus, after consensus, after um, the end user essentially gets things in under a second, usually, like, 0.8 seconds, in their front end. So the team is really focused on scaling that, rather than having these smaller subsets of its own chain, where the team essentially has to manage infrastructure in some aspect, have additional costs. So yeah, there's so many of these, and I think long term there will be a requirement for privacy. We do have some use cases and some features there. So there is this Hong Kong stablecoin that is being built on Aptos, where with their monetary authority. So there you have these unique features where you can't see transaction balance, how much is being transferred. You can't see wallet balances, but you have APIs for regulators where they can see everything. So I think there will be a world where all of this will sort of align. But today we are not really focused on private chains, and a lot more teams are. Like so many teams ask me, build a bridge for EVM, build a bridge for Hyperledger, but we are not really
It makes
focused
a
on
lot of
that.
sense. Also, another personal question, Naresh. I know I'm asking a lot of personal questions. It's what do you think you guys are doing different from like for say Super Team and Base? Like Solana, I think they've been very
Uh,
like when I look at Twitter, like as an average consumer, you see a lot of Base, you see a lot of Solana, like everywhere. Just in terms of promoting deep in whatever it is. Even Jesse, I feel like is a I feel like he is the biggest supporter of Base, not as the founder itself. I feel like you've seen him support a lot of projects. Like if you're building on Base and you probably tag him, there's a high chance he will repost you and get you in front of everything else. What do you feel like they're doing different more in terms of Aptos? Is that like something that's only like is it something that I'm seeing like from a bias perspective, or is it actually how it is, or am I seeing something wrong here?
yeah. No, I think I align with you in some aspects. Solana has done, especially in India, since Super Team started, they've done an amazing job with respect to community. And now we are able to see teams raise capital. So it did take them, about a couple of years at least. Although there was a strong community, people winning hackathons, doing freelance gigs, winning bounties. The teams that have, raised capital are few, and that's going to definitely increase going forward because they've built this structure now, and they're really good with highlighting wins. That's a learning that we are also taking from them to some extent. Um, from a base standpoint, I think it's a bit to do with the broader EVM dynamics,
Mm,
where you have a lot of other chains earlier fighting. Base has a lot more credibility considering Coinbase, although there are so many people fighting that this is just a centralized database to some extent. But what they've been able to do really well is capitalize on this market gap where no other EVM, either they pivoted to something else. Let's say an Avalanche started to focus more on selling their own chains, and Base became this platform where you can build faster, build things, great developer experience as well. And Jesse being able to highlight a lot of these people. Um, Although organically I'm still keen to see how these teams translate into actual teams that build long term. We've seen some use cases that came out. There was a lot of hype for a
right.
few months, but then those teams like winded down. Yesterday I saw P2P.me. That's an amazing team that's been building for a long time, and they got investment from Coinbase as well. So that could be a route where you identify strong team, and Soumya does an amazing job from a marketing standpoint. He's a genius there and a really good guy to chat with always. Very open to people. Although I'm still like keen to see how that will translate long term. Um, I think Monad will be another exciting opportunity once they launch, and might be a tough competition to base from some extent because now you can do the same things, which is a little bit more decentralized than bases. Um, so that's my outlook, and we see this apps transition from base to Solana, that is another conversation from a macro perspective. Yesterday, I think yesterday or day before, there was this infected dot fund, and then we saw a couple of more before. Um, I think base, if they can solve some of these things, it'll be great. I like base. I think long term they have great potential. It's just how Monad, how they'll be able to tackle Monad, which is also a serious team. I think at the end, serious teams is what matters. Like Solana is a serious team, Aptos is a serious team. There are many more that are not so serious, and I typically engage like young talent to identify these serious teams and rather than having this that hey I'm going to get a bunch of followers here, have access to community network, and then you're able to continuously build, have access to that capital. I think that's something that we have been able to do well, providing access to capital, especially in India. Last year we invested a lot. This year we are doubling down on that. And then through this path, I'm optimistic that we'll have a lot more younger talent. We have established teams, probably more than anybody else locally, with respect to users, with respect to use cases. Yeah, it'll be exciting over the next few years. And I think everybody has eyes on India, which is good. Like this was my mission when I took up, like exited the accelerator. Accelerator was also focused on India, joined Aptos because it was an Indian role. My thesis is that like in India, there is a lot more potential and it's a very big market that can accommodate like, much more chains as long as those chains are, not being, just superficial that, hey, we'll do this and we'll get out. We'll do a few events. That's about it. There's no follow through. Um, we've been working on this. There is super team that you can see that has evolved over 3-4 years. Yeah, it's net positive, man, and I'm super excited like what India will
Crazy.
offer.